What's up, everybody? Christian Ballard, sports journalist here at Ballard Sports Media, coming at you with touchdowns live. As you see, we have no topics in the title. Surprise, surprise. You want to tell them what we're doing, Mayhem?
Yes, I do. I do want to tell them what we're doing. We're going to do college football schedule previews. We're only going to be looking at the schedule here. Might talk about a few players or whatnot that's going to be coming into 2025 for these teams, but ultimately we're going to be doing the 2025 schedules. We're going to look at some trap games, what could possibly be some games that they'll lose or what can possibly be some wins for these teams and so on and so forth. And we're going to figure out if the bye weeks help them or hurt them. And we're just going to get right on into it. So let's take a list. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the very first team of the night. If you like this content, please smash the thumbs up. And if you really like the content, hit the subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button.
It's completely FREE. Yeah, it's completely free. Oklahoma!
Oklahoma. All right, let's pull it up. I'll zoom in just a little bit here.
So they start out with Illinois State. I'm not going to talk about that too much. That should be an automatic win there.
Same thoughts.
So this is what I'm gonna do, Ballard, for each of these teams. I'm gonna go by one and tell you, like, okay, that's gonna be a hard game. That's gonna be an easy game. That's gonna be a trap game. And then we're just gonna look after we go one by one. We're gonna look at the schedule as a whole and see where they're at within the schedule. So we got Illinois State, that's an easy win. Michigan, that's going to be a tough game. Oklahoma does bring back their quarterback, Michael Hawkins, but he was they kind of did like last year. They kind of did like a quarterback hokey pokey with, I believe, what was it, Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins. So both of them played, but Michael Hawkins did see significant playing time. He's probably going to be your starter, assuming starter at Oklahoma. Michigan's going to have pretty much a true freshman at quarterback, but he's really, really good. Michigan should be a little bit better than they were last year. You do get Michigan at home, so that is good.
That might be a college game day destination too. Like, when's the last time have these teams ever met? That's a good question. But this will be a big game. You know, this will have to be like, college game day on location. I mean, unless you can find a bigger game in week 2, but this will be a big game here.
For sure. Then you go to week 3. You go on the road at Temple. Now, I'm not disrespecting the Temple Owls here, but this ain't much of a road game. They should get the win here.
Right.
Then they go back home to face the Auburn Tigers. Auburn should be a lot better of a team as they take the Oklahoma Sooners quarterback in the transfer portal. So, he'll be returning to Oklahoma, not to play for Oklahoma, but he'll be returning to be on the opposite side and face Oklahoma as he tries to beat his former team, Jackson Arnold. So, I think, honestly, I think that's a coin flip. Honestly, I really do. I think Auburn.
So, yeah, I want to give some thoughts real quick. Yeah, go ahead. Finish real quick.
I'll just say this, that I think Auburn on paper,
Mhm.
if I just look at the star power that Auburn has and I look at what Oklahoma has, Auburn should win this game. But we're not doing any predictions here. I'm just saying that on paper, if I look at these two teams and what they have, Auburn has an elite set of wide receivers. They have a pretty good quarterback who had flashes of being really, really great this past season. But I think they were just not in a good system at Oklahoma, so that's why he hit the transfer portal. He's at Auburn now, which runs more of a system that he likes. So I think he'll do better at Auburn. And then,
Yeah.
so, September 20th is going to be one that Oklahoma marks down. That's also the first SEC game. They start SEC play then in week 4. So that'll also be a test. The upside to having Auburn right there is they do get them at home.
Right. They do. And that's pretty much the SEC opening weekend right there, unless there's like one or two teams before that open up conference play. But be careful with that Auburn game. When in doubt, I usually take the home team because I like to believe in home field advantage and crowd noises and everything like that in college football. When in doubt, in this case, probably take Oklahoma, but um, be on the lookout for Auburn. I think the big issue last year was not having it figured out at quarterback. Hank Brown goes to Iowa. I'm trying to think who else they bring in this year. I can't think other than the 5-star Deuce Knight, who is turning heads this spring. So just be on the lookout for that, man. If they could get their quarterback situated, Auburn could be a dangerous team, I think. And it'll start right there against Oklahoma. Although Auburn, no matter who their coach is, his history shows that they do struggle on road games. So
Yeah, and also when in doubt, pinky out.
Yep. They get the bye week after Auburn, and
Now
then
I
they
want to talk.
get everyone's
I do want to.
getting.
I know. I want to
Huh?
talk about this bye week.
Okay.
Don't you think Oklahoma got screwed?
Heck yeah, man. I mean, why do you? Okay, it's one thing to get it coming off a game against Auburn, but let me ask you something, dummies. Why is it before Kent State? Like, why can't Kent State be after Auburn, get the bye week before the Red River game? That totally is a bad luck of the draw there.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
man,
Why can't they have the open date?
on October 4th.
Right.
Right.
And
No,
then
I agree. Everyone gets 2 bye weeks too. Now this one, and we'll get to these games, but this makes sense between Tennessee and Alabama both on the road. That makes sense. But this first one, I don't have.
honestly, I would have if I
Yeah.
was Oklahoma, I would have tried to schedule Illinois State, Kent
Uh-huh.
State, Michigan. I would have had Illinois State, Kent State, Temple, and then the bye week, then Michigan.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, but I think I don't know. I get what you're getting at. So you go ahead and get a good start on wins early on, but it's one of those things where you wanna test your guys early. That's probably why they have teams like Michigan coming to town and why they're having Auburn come to town before they get that first bye.
Yeah, I probably would have had like Illinois State, Kent State, Temple,
Mhm.
then Auburn, and then Michigan,
Yeah.
and then your bye week, then Texas, or something like that. I mean, I just think that an open date to get ready for Kent State
It's
is,
pointless.
yeah, it's kind of
You're
pointless.
basically having 2 weeks of open practice is what you're having. Like, think
Yeah,
about it. Think
yeah.
about it.
So let's
Come on, man.
kind of move on from that. I did want to
Yeah.
talk about it for a few seconds, but they got Kent State. Should be an easy win there. Kent State is like the worst that's like the worst team in all of college football.
Hey, careful. Don't disrespect Saban's alma mater like that, okay, buddy? All right. I'm just kidding. He did go there, though. He did go there.
Kent State is the worst team in all of college football, but
No.
I will give Kent State some credit. They played like last
They're
year,
not the worst.
huh?
They play like they're not the worst sometimes. But what were you going to say about last year?
Kent State, and I'll veer off really quickly
Mm-hmm.
and talk about Kent State's schedule from last year, right? And then we'll get back on track. I promise. They went 0-12 last year, by the way.
Yeah.
But they did have to face Pitt, at Tennessee, at Penn State, and then the rest of it was pretty easy. But they had the first 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 weeks was awful. They had to go on the road at Pitt. They played a nobody, still lost. Had to go on the road at Tennessee, turn around, go on the road at Penn State. They lost 71-0 on the road at Tennessee. Turn around the very next week and lose 56-0 at Penn State. That's crazy. Anyways,
I know.
but
Yeah.
anyways,
Anyway, let's move on from Kent State. After
Yeah.
that, they got the Red River game.
Yeah, which I think is going to be more intriguing than it was last year. I think it's going to be more like it was 2 years ago whenever Oklahoma upset Texas. I think
I
that
don't know about. Here's the thing. I don't know if it's going to be an upset, but it's going to be competitive, like it should be.
well, yeah, it's a rivalry, but everybody's going to pick Texas to win. Obviously, they're expecting Texas to contend for a national championship while Oklahoma is trying to contend for making a bowl game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or
So
at
like,
least
so it
not
would be.
finish dead last.
I mean, I know it's a rivalry game, so technically it's not an upset if your rival beats you, but like in the grand scheme of things, yes, Texas is going to be favored to win the game, so it will be a quote unquote upset. And
Right.
but as far as like whenever you look at the rivalry aspect of it, I understand like your rivals can get the best of you and it wouldn't necessarily be an upset, but like if we're talking about just based off of like the point spread and stuff like that, Texas is going to be favored. So Oklahoma, if they beat Texas, it would be an upset.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I think that's going to be a really good game. If you talked earlier about College Game Day, I don't know any other matchups that are going to be on October 11th. I haven't looked at every single October 11th matchup.
I don't want to spoil too much. We are going to look at Indiana later. They go to Oregon, so there might be a little bit of competition here, but go on.
But Oklahoma, Texas, I'd rather see that on College Game Day than Indiana, Oregon, in my opinion. And maybe my SEC bias is coming out, but even before they was in the SEC, whenever they were both in the Big 12, I would still rather have seen that. But then they go on the road at South Carolina. South Carolina, if they play their cards right, because like South Carolina is such an up and down team from year to year.
I'm gonna say this bold take on this show tonight. They should have beat us last year.
Yeah, that's not a bold take though.
Well, it's a take, so how about that? It might not be that bold, but I'm gonna say it. Go on.
It's the only reason why it's bold is because an Alabama fan is saying it.
They should have beat us. Mayhem, us.
Yeah, should have, would have, could have, but they didn't. And both of y'all missed the playoffs. So, also another team that missed the playoffs, Ole Miss has to come into Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, to face the Sooners. Ole Miss is one of those teams that do really, really good, and then later in the season they kind of just drop off. They lose games that they shouldn't. Florida, anyways. Like, had Ole Miss beat Florida, they would have been in the playoffs, but
right.
they didn't. So, and also Ole Miss is playing Oklahoma October 25th. That's like the last game before the November slate, and so I'm gonna say that's gonna be a very competitive game because like November, from what I've heard, like if you do good the last, according to South Carolina fans, if you win your last 6 games in a row, you should be in the playoffs.
Right. That's how it works.
Yeah, if you lose the first 6 games and then you win the last 6 games, you should be in the playoffs because you're hot, you're on fire. That's what I was told by South Carolina fans. But so maybe Oklahoma can win versus Ole Miss and go on a winning streak, so that they can cry about them possibly making a playoff game. I don't know. Anyways, all jokes aside, they do get Ole Miss, and then they have to go on the road at Tennessee. That's going to be a very difficult game as well. Tennessee did win last year.
Yeah.
But I still believe that Tennessee didn't do anything to really offensively. Tennessee really didn't do nothing offensively in that game to really like separate themselves from Oklahoma. Now that Nico, I'm about to leave you. I already left you. Is gone from Tennessee. They're scrambling for a quarterback, or maybe they already got their quarterback. I don't know. Maybe they hit the portal that's coming up. Like, what is it, next week, or I don't know. Is it this week? I
I
don't
think
know.
is it tomorrow?
Is it
I
tomorrow?
think I think it is.
So Tennessee might be searching for a quarterback there, or they might go and uh, they might already have a quarterback ready. I don't know, but Tennessee needs to figure out their quarterback situation fast. At least with
Yeah.
Nico, you already knew what you was about to get, and so then they got a bye week to prepare for the Alabama Crimson Tide. They have to go on the road this time to Alabama because last year they got a win over Alabama, but it was at their house. Now
Yeah.
is Alabama saying, "Hey, you got to come to our house, buddy. You're not
Yeah.
going to beat us at our
Ain't
house."
no ain't no more 24-10. We're gonna whoop you like 45-10.
So
We'll get revenge.
So that's the Alabama mentality, November 15th. But they do get to come home for the last 2 games, Missouri and LSU. All right.
That could be a split, a 2-0 or an 0-2. I think. Well, I don't know. I think they could definitely beat Missouri. As much as I like Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz, I think Oklahoma's going to be a better team this year. But that LSU game, circle it. Brian Kelly comes to town. I mean, who's not going to want to watch that late in the year? I think both teams will be looking pretty solid.
Yeah, I could see Oklahoma. I think the ceiling for Oklahoma, whenever I look at the schedule, is 8-4.
8-4. I might be with you. Let me double check something. Okay, so let's run through these. Illinois State is a win.
Yes,
Michigan could go either way.
I'll say
I'm gonna give
Michigan.
that to. I'm gonna give it to Michigan too. So that's their first L. I got them at 1-1. At Temple is a win. Auburn,
A loss.
honestly, that could go either way. I'm gonna give them a loss too. I'm gonna give them a loss to Texas. At South Carolina, I'm gonna.
A loss. So
I'm
I have
calling upset.
losses.
I'm gonna disagree and stick with 3 losses so far. I'm gonna say they go on the road and get South Carolina.
I'm gonna say their losses at Alabama.
Uh huh. That's 4. I'll give them that.
At Alabama, I think they get Ole Miss. At South Carolina, Auburn, Michigan.
I'm hesitant to give them a loss to LSU, but I think they could.
Well,
I feel like if they already have 4 losses going into that game, what are the chances they drop the last home game of the season? Like,
this
I
is
guess I'll stick to 8-4.
well, like I said,
Like,
this
I
is
could
the
see it.
ceiling. This is the ceiling.
Right, right. And the floor's got to be like 6 or 5 wins, right?
I see right now Illinois State, Temple, Kent State. That's 3 definite wins.
Yeah.
And okay, so Texas, Oklahoma can go either way. That could be
Hmm.
4. Missouri, Ole Miss, we can split that one. That's 5, and then we can split South Carolina, LSU. That's 6. I
So
can see
6-6.
I can see 6 and 6 as like the floor. I don't think
That's definitely, yeah.
because I think
Like,
if
because
they
what are the chances they skip a bowl this year, man?
well if they
Like,
skip a
really?
bowl, Brent Venables will be fired.
Oh, I know. We'll be on the first train smoking.
Yeah, so I think his job is on the line here. He
Mhm.
knows it. He's going to get his team prepared. Honestly, I know I said the ceilings. Like, if I had to make a guess right now, I'd probably say 7-5 for this Oklahoma team because, like, my ceiling's 8-4, my bottom of the barrel's 6-6, right in the middle 7-5. That would be a perfect prediction for Oklahoma.
I'll run through one more time. I seriously don't know who to pick in this Michigan game. That's gonna be a good one. It is at home in their advantage. Uh, let's say Michigan wins, but close. So I'll give them a loss to Michigan. I'll give them Texas. I'll give them at Alabama for sure. That's 3, and LSU. I guess I got them 8-4.
See, I got them at 7-5. My 5 losses, definitely Auburn. I
Yeah.
think they'll lose to Auburn for sure, which I think is a toss up. But I'm gonna just my gut's telling me Auburn.
Okay.
Go ahead and mark them down for a Texas loss and a South Carolina loss. That's 3. Alabama loss, and then let's split. You can say they'll either lose to Missouri or lose to. I think they'll lose to LSU.
Okay.
Or if they don't lose to Missouri or LSU, they'll lose to Michigan. So I say 7-5 is like a perfect prediction for me in Oklahoma. But I know we're just looking at the schedule. We're not doing predictions. But
Right.
like whenever I look at this schedule, Oklahoma has a pretty tough schedule with the likes of Michigan, Auburn, Texas, at South Carolina, at Tennessee, which I know I'm kind of downplaying Tennessee because like they're gonna. I mean, as far as their defense goes, they might be, you know, either as good or they're going to take a little step back from last year. And then as far as their offense goes, I really don't think Tennessee's going to have any offense next year. I really don't. And I'm not making fun of Tennessee or anything like that. I just
The reality of Tennessee is they don't have a leader to fill the shoes of Nico. Now, can they go in the portal and get someone? Probably, but it's not going to be what we thought. Because a few weeks ago, before this drama happened, I'm sure a lot of people would have said they might get back to the playoffs, go 10-2 or something like that. It's possible. But now with Nico out of the picture, it's like, hold up, what do we do?
Well, even with Nico in the picture, let's just say Nico stays there. He wasn't that great of a quarterback to begin with, and he did not win any games for Tennessee, but he did lose some games for Tennessee.
Right.
Tennessee's defense is what made them win so many games last year. And whenever I look at their offense and defense, yeah, their defense is going to be good. Yes, I'll give them that. But can Tennessee, but also Oklahoma's defense is going to be really good. So at this point, whenever I'm looking at Tennessee and Oklahoma, I'm thinking like, who has the better offense? And right now, if they had to play right now today, number one, Tennessee don't have a quarterback. They do that. They do have that guy Merklinger or whatever his name is.
Merklinger,
whatever his name is. Yeah. So, but come on, like he's done. If they had to play like right now, I'd say Oklahoma's winning that game.
Probably so. At this moment in time, yes.
But yeah, I say a good 7-5 schedule for the Oklahoma Sooners.
I like it. You ready to move on to the next team? Which one you want to go to next?
West by God, Virginia.
West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, down country roads. Anyway, rest in peace to our good friend Golden Blue Dude, and who I miss seeing around the community. Shout out to our friend Joey Foster for this.
Yes, for sure. So you want to go
Rich Rodriguez? Yeah. Rich Rodriguez comes in year one for West Virginia. He's been a big name in college football for a long time. Alabama almost went after him instead of Nick Saban. Thank God that they didn't. But what are your initial reactions, Mayhem, to Rich Rod in Morgantown?
Well, he's already been there before, and he was a winner there before. I believe that he has winning mentality, and I think this was an excellent hire. I think he is a West Virginia guy. I think as long as he has the money to get him a good team, because obviously, it's all about NIL now. If he can get him a good amount of money to pay these players, I think he can have a pretty good team because I think he's, outside of NIL, I think he's a really good recruiter. So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Now, did Garrett Green, he's going to the NFL or?
I have no idea, actually. I didn't even think to look that up. That's a good question. Garrett Green. He is a quarterback for West Virginia. However, is he going to the draft? Yes, he is, because he has taken part in multiple pro days. And he was just today or yesterday even, it was put out today that he went to the Titans pro day. So yes, I think he's going to get drafted somewhere. I could see that.
Now,
I think it's day 3, but he basically for West Virginia, he's gone.
Now, Garrett Green is entering the draft, but he's not going as a quarterback.
No?
He's going as a wide receiver.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious.
Dang. All right. He'll get drafted, I'm sure. But, well, I don't know. I don't know how they feel about a quarterback turned wide receiver. But anyway, that's beside the point. West Virginia opens with Robert Morris. They go to Ohio. They come back for the backyard brawl with Pitt. At Kansas, Utah, at home, at BYU, bye week, at UCF, TCU, at Houston, Colorado, at Arizona State, second bye week, and then they host Texas Tech And if they play their cards right, the following week, they could be in the Big 12 championship game. But let's pump our brakes on that one real quick.
Yeah, so there is a quarterback battle going on in West Virginia. That is true. Yeah, so the obvious, whenever I look at this schedule, it's pretty dog crap.
As in weak or as in a bad draw for West Virginia?
As in weak. Like Robert Morris at Ohio.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how Pitt's going to look this season, but if they look anything like they did at the end of last season, that's going to be an easy win. They got to face Kansas, a basketball school, Utah, which was very disappointing last season, and better do something good this season. I don't know what to think of Utah. Is that quarterback coming back for like a 9th year or 8th year or whatever?
Rising.
Yeah, is he? Because I know he's eligible to come back for 8th year, but is he going to? I don't know. If he does, then like, what is Utah going to look like? UCF.
Well, the question is, if he is coming back, is he going to stay healthy?
Right.
And that's going to determine Utah.
Yeah, and then UCF is absolute dog crap. TCU has been dog crap ever since Georgia stomped the mud hole in them, 65-7. Houston, dog crap. Texas Tech, don't they always get so much hype in the offseason and then absolutely craps on their leg? So,
I mean, they get all the hype and they only win 7 or 8 games. Down the hole,
like every single year, Texas Tech is winning the Big 12.
I know.
In the offseason.
I think they could do it this year. Anyway, continue.
Okay, so like Robert Morris, Ohio, Pitt, Kansas, Utah, UCF, TCU, Houston, Texas Tech. Dude, they should be able to pull 9 wins out their butt.
I think so too. I think the losses, Pitt could go either way because it's a rivalry game. So you got to be careful there. Oh, okay, let me ask you. Colorado. I know we're not looking at their schedule. They do lose Travis and Shedeur and Shiloh and all these guys. Deion's still there. He's still cooking up some good stuff. West Virginia has nothing for Colorado, right? Like we can settle for that being one of their losses, I think. And then I would also look at going to Arizona State on November 15th, the following week. I mean, you could look at maybe undefeated through like up to November. It's possible, unless you see one of their 3 losses coming early.
Well, you got to look at BYU. They bring back their quarterback. They bring back actually BYU is a top 10 in returning players in 2025.
They gotta have at least 85%, right?
They have a good amount of players returning. They bring back their quarterback as well, the BYU. I think BYU is the team I'm looking at in the Big 12, and I'm like, you better be careful because they missed it last season. They missed it barely last season. This season, I'm thinking like BYU. I'm thinking BYU, man. I could see them only having 1 loss heading into that Colorado game, making it very interesting because West Virginia does, in fact, host Colorado November 8th. So I could see West Virginia only having 1 loss going into that November 8th versus Colorado. And I could see Pat McAfee, because he's, a West Virginia Mountaineer. I could see him hyping up this West Virginia team, talking all kinds of mad smack, against Colorado and all that stuff. I could see that being a very big game in the Big 12.
Honestly, if I had to give a really high ceiling, I would not be shocked if West Virginia ends up with only one loss. I wouldn't be shocked if they could beat Colorado at home and only drop a game, maybe like this Arizona State game or that BYU, whatever they're called. They, dude, they got to be Big 12 bound, like championship bound. They
Yeah, I would
got to.
say the contenders for Big 12 this year, Arizona State, Colorado, BYU, and West Virginia. Them four teams.
Yeah. And how many of those teams? Hold on, name those teams again. How many of those is West Virginia playing?
All of them.
Obviously, West Virginia is a contender. You said Arizona State,
Colorado and BYU.
Colorado, and BYU. They play all three of those, right?
Yep.
So they got to try to you can get by if you lose one of those games. If you lose two of them, they're probably not going to the Big 12.
Well, I don't
They
know.
could, but
I mean,
I think it come close.
I can see a 10-2 West Virginia getting into the Big 12 championship with some chaos because I don't think Colorado is going
Right.
undefeated. I mean, I don't think
With
Arizona's.
some chaos. You gotta hope that you have the tiebreakers,
Yeah,
like head to head.
if you have the right tiebreakers and stuff, like if you go 10-2 with losses to like BYU and Arizona State, and maybe Colorado beats Arizona State or BYU,
And
like
what you could have, Mayhem, real quick, like what you could have is they have the teams they probably could lose to, like a BYU and Arizona State or Colorado. Let's say if they beat those teams and they outright have the win of the tiebreakers for head to head, and they drop some stupid game like the TCU or Houston, like for some weird reason. That plays their cards so well to get in the Big 12 title game.
yeah,
That could happen too.
I think West Virginia is one of the four. I think they have a 25% chance to make it. Well, actually,
Mhm.
I think they have a 50% chance to make it to the Big 12 title, but I think they have a 25% chance to win it all.
Yeah,
I mean, the Big 12. I'm not talking about no national championship, but the Big
we'll
12.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, with this schedule, I think it's really easy. They do start off with Robert Morris. They go on the road at Ohio. Who cares? They have Pitt at home. Like you said, it's a rivalry game, but like Pitt, if they look anything like they did the last 5 games of last season, pray for Pitt.
Yeah.
Because but if Pitt looks like they did the first 7 games of last season, then pray for West Virginia. I think that could be a back and forth matchup, but they can lose to Pitt and it not affect their Big 12, right?
Pitt, yes, because Pitt is ACC.
Right.
That's out of conference, so it's not going to affect their path to a Big 12 title.
So like I said, West Virginia could go 10-2 with losses like to Pitt and Arizona State.
Uh-huh.
They'd only have
Still get
one.
in the Big 12 title game, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the ceiling here is 10-2. Either they have
Yes.
2 Big 12 losses or they have the Pitt and one of the Big 12 losses that I mentioned. I think the ceiling here is 10-2. I think worst case scenario for West Virginia is they lose to Pitt, BYU, Colorado, and Arizona State, and then they lose, like you said, to like either I don't know, like a TCU or Houston or something like that, and go set. I think the worst case scenario is West Virginia just absolutely pees on their own leg or something like that, and they go like 7-5. I think that, but I don't. Yeah, I
I
think that.
can't see that happening.
Yeah, I
I
think.
can't.
Yeah, I guess I'll go 8-4 as the
At worst.
low, and then the high is
Yeah.
10-2. So I'm gonna meet right in the middle. I'm gonna meet you right in the middle, Ballard. If I
Okay.
had to make a record prediction today for West Virginia, it's 9-3.
I can roll with it. I can roll with it for sure. You ready to look at our next team?
Yeah,
We got two left we're going to look at tonight. We're
let's
going to
go
look at You
Indiana.
going to do Indiana? All right. We got them and Syracuse left, so we'll get these knocked out and we'll get out of here tonight.
All right, for sure.
Um,
So let's talk
Indiana,
about
let's see.
let's
Go
talk
ahead.
Indiana.
Yeah. What'd you see last year, man?
Last year, I seen a very easy schedule for Indiana, and they were able to roll, and they were able to win all the games that they were supposed to, and then they lost the game that they were supposed to lose to. I think they did exactly what they were supposed to do, and then they went to the playoffs and then got booted. So that's what I saw. And then they got lucky. They got very lucky that they didn't have to go to the Big Ten championship because Penn State went instead.
Oregon would have whopped them, man.
Yeah.
Oregon would have.
Because if Indiana, let's just say Indiana would have went to the Big Ten championship and lost to Oregon, a 10-2 Indiana wouldn't have made it to the playoffs. Sorry, bro. Somebody else would have made it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
And their road schedule is what worries me because like here's the schedule they got. They got Old Dominion, they got Kennesaw State, wins. Indiana State, win. You should win. You should win all three of those unless something crazy happens with Indiana. Illinois, that could be a challenge a little bit, but they should win that at home.
That would definitely be a challenge.
Yeah. At Iowa,
that's a challenge.
It's not a guarantee. That's a challenge. Off week at Oregon, I don't care who's at quarterback. That's a loss. Michigan State, interested in seeing Jonathan Smith and what he continues to do. UCLA, at Maryland, at Penn State, loss. Wisconsin, off week, loss. And at Purdue. Which one?
I think this is a much harder schedule than last season.
I think it gets harder as the season goes on. Even though Oregon's in the middle and you got a couple breaks in between, almost breaks, whatever. But like, look at this stretch, man. Back to back with Maryland and Penn State. Then you got Wisconsin. It's going to be interesting.
Scroll back up a little bit.
What you got? Let's go to the beginning.
All right. So, the beginning, they're going to win all them games. All right. So, I'm going to go with my floor. I'm going to start with the floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just say they lose. Pick your poison. Either they beat Illinois and they lose to Iowa, or they beat Iowa and lose to Illinois. So that's one loss.
I would say, yeah. I think between the two for this next season, I would say the more likely scenario is losing to Iowa, but we could debate that another day if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm going to say one loss. All right, scroll down.
All right, so we got one loss between these two somewhere. Okay.
So
off week. Yeah.
They'll have one loss heading into the road game versus Oregon, which is going to be another loss. Because they got Dante Moore at quarterback.
Yeah. And so that's two.
So that's two losses. They'll beat Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA.
Get UCLA too. So do you think can UCLA get them?
Well, UCLA is interesting because like they're also one of them teams in the runnings for possibly getting Nico.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's who I am predicting right here. This is a hot take. Maybe it's not a hot take. I don't know. But I'm predicting Nico to UCLA. I think he's from California. I think he's from California. And UCLA would be like the best fit for Nico. I don't think he'll get the money he's asking for, but I think UCLA could match the money that he was making at Tennessee, so he wouldn't be losing any money, but he wouldn't be making any more money. But even with that, UCLA has a lot of work to do. I'm going to say it's a win. They go on the road to Maryland. I'm going to chalk that up as a win.
Yep. Penn State's serious loss.
That's
Right.
a loss. Wisconsin's a loss.
Yeah. Wisconsin, I don't know what to make of them just yet. So that might be something I revisit later on, but for right now I would give it to Indiana.
Really? Okay. And then Purdue,
Oh, I want to go back.
obviously Purdue's going to lose to Indiana.
Okay. So
But you
your
do
losses are Penn State,
Penn State,
Oregon.
Oregon, Wisconsin, and pick your poison between Illinois and honestly,
Four.
I think they're I'm gonna be honest. So I think the ceiling here is
Mhm.
9-3.
I think so too, and I think your floor honestly,
It's 7-5.
why may okay, I could see that as a floor, but is it possible that you're looking at no more than 4 losses? Is that possible for Indiana? Like,
No,
I think they'd have to really do something dumb to go 7-5 with this.
I don't think
My
so.
personal opinion.
Because I could see them losing on the road at Maryland. I could see them losing on the road at Penn State. I could see them losing to Wisconsin. I can see them losing to Oregon.
Mhm.
I can see them losing to Iowa and Illinois. So how many games is that? Like 6?
I guess so.
So
Yeah,
like worst case
I can
scenario,
see it.
let's just say like worst case scenario, I could see like a 7-5 word like worst case scenario.
Yeah.
7-5 is like the worst, and then like 9-3 is like the best they're going to get off of this schedule because Penn State and Oregon are two 100% losses, and
Mhm.
then maybe they lose another one on the road, maybe at Iowa or
They
the
also have Purdue or Maryland, but Purdue's like we said, it's not. Yeah.
Purdue. All right.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say if I had to make a prediction right now, Ballard is 8-4.
8-4. E I could see that too. I think your 4 losses for me, and we could argue all night if you wanted to, Illinois, Iowa, Oregon, and Penn State.
I mean, I wouldn't argue that. I mean,
If they beat Illinois, 9-3 is very doable because I do think they have a shot in that game there.
I
But the
just
road games is what worries me for Indiana.
I just really like Luke Fickle, man,
Yeah,
and he's.
he's a good
I,
mind.
I mean, I really like Luke Fickle, and I want him to do good. I want Wisconsin to be good again. I do.
Yeah,
I want them to shake up some Big
Big
Ten.
Ten chaos.
Yeah, I really do. I want them to get back into the mix with the Penn State, Ohio State, Michigans of the world. I want them to be up there and
Yeah.
shake up the Big Ten a little bit. So,
Okay.
anyways, I obviously from the schedule, it's a lot harder than last season's schedule. And if they were to only have one loss with this schedule, then I would totally be giving them a lot of credit. Last season, I really didn't give them too much credit because they only lost one game and they only played really one tough game, which was the game they lost.
Yeah.
So, and then they didn't even make their conference championship, and
But
they
they
were
came really close to it, like think
yeah,
about
so
it.
really close, but no cigar.
Right.
But with that being said, like I do think if they do go like 11-1 or even 10-2 with this schedule, like that would be a win for Indiana
Right.
after going to the playoffs last season, and you losing your starting quarterback, and you're losing some wide receivers and some defensive guys, and you're losing a lot on your team. But you also you bring some guys from the transfer portal as well. So like, you know, your team's not going to be as good as it was last season. That's for sure. But your
Yeah,
head coach is a winner everywhere he's been. So I would assume that they can win some games.
for sure. Let's let's do one more. I think we had talked before the show. We were going to do one more team, and then we'll kind of get into anything else you have. Hopefully, we don't stay on too much longer because I do got to get some rest tonight. But let's go to the ACC now. Let's talk up Syracuse. This is a team that not a whole lot of people pay attention to, but they are known for having a tough home environment. They can pull off some upsets, Clemson, and they can give teams some trouble. They can give teams some fits, and I think that well, I haven't really paid attention to them the last couple years, at least in 2 or 3 seasons. But I do know that they have used the portal. They brought guys in. They obviously had Kyle McCord last year from Ohio State. He did okay. I guess let's just look at their schedule. And if you have any notes on Syracuse, man, like go for it. Because other than trying to predict some games head to head, I really don't have much on them.
Yeah, let's take a look at their schedule.
Tennessee to open.
They open up with Tennessee, which is going to be an interesting game. I think this Tennessee game is going to look very familiar with what we've saw the last couple of times whenever Tennessee went against ACC teams. And I know last year they beat the dog doo-doo out of NC State, but let's just be honest. Like, NC State, their offense went to complete trash, and that's the reason why, like, Tennessee was able to score off of NC State's mishaps. I think if NC State would have took better care of the football early on in the game, because I think they had a pick six and then they had like a fumble or something like that. If NC State would have taken better care of the ball and maybe, done what they did maybe in the first quarter or whatever, it would have been a lot closer. Also, a couple years ago, they faced Pitt in like a very, very good game. It was a one-score game all the way down to the end. I think you're going to see that with this game. I think it's going to be back and forth, back and forth. I don't know. Tennessee's defense is going to be really good. Like I said before, Syracuse offense is going to be really good too. So that's the matchup I'm looking at. Tennessee's offense is going to be not so good, and it's going to make Syracuse's defense look good. And that's my prediction for that. I could still see Tennessee winning, but they get Syracuse in New York. So
no, it's in Atlanta. It's a kickoff game.
Oh, it's a kickoff. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
It's a neutral. It is a neutral. It's the Aflac kickoff on Saturday. It's a neutral site. It's closer to Tennessee, so you probably get more volunteer fans there. But for Syracuse benefit, it's not like it's on the road. Also, the downside, it is not in the dome. So, but I think on this game, like, we could joke about Nico and Tennessee and all that. Tennessee's still going to be a good team, but they're going to be put to the test week 1. I think Syracuse has some good guys coming back on defense, and they can put together some strong schematic defenses. And keep an eye out on that game.
Yeah.
After that,
I'm gonna go ahead and say this.
Okay.
If you're looking to make, and listen, I'm not a gambling man. All right. I'm not a gambling man. Okay. But if I was a gambling man, I'd be betting on Syracuse to beat Tennessee week 1 with all I think Tennessee, and listen, Tennessee ain't going to like this, but Tennessee fans are not going to like this. But call me crazy. This is the Touchdowns live stream where we make bold predictions, and Tennessee could do the Florida State from last year. 2 and
I had a. It's funny that you said that because I made that video today, and people called me crazy for saying that. And I even had asked. I called into Lou's show tonight, and I said, "Is it possible they'll be that bad?" And he said, "I don't know if they'll." I mean, I said, "Look, they got to win more than 2 games, right?" But they could be that. They could be that playoff team that actually made it instead of Florida State, kind of deal, whereas Florida
this
State got
can,
left out. But point being, they were a playoff team. They
I
were
think
good. They won
this
10 or more games.
I think this game reminds me a lot of the Georgia Tech versus Florida State from last year.
Yeah. The only difference is you don't have to go out of the country.
Right.
But it is. I mean, it's neutral site, and you got a somewhat of an underdog in Syracuse here,
I
and
think
you got a
Syracuse
big
can
time
upset them.
favorite. Yeah, you think Syracuse will win?
I think they can. I really do. I'm gonna go ahead and make it. Yeah, they are going to win.
Ooh,
I done talked myself into it.
they're
Seriously.
gonna call me in. You know what? I'm already an idiot. Give me Syracuse.
Yeah. Why not?
Let's do
Uh,
it.
UConn, Syracuse won that game. Colgate,
Yeah,
is that
the
toothpaste?
tooth. Yes, I was
Yeah,
fixing to say it's the toothpaste school.
yeah. They'll win the toothpaste.
Yeah, at
They'll lose.
Clemson is a loss.
They'll lose. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I will, to their credit, they have played Clemson pretty close and pretty tough in recent years, going back to 2017. They usually can give, even going to Clemson, they haven't won there, but they could put on a show against Clemson, man. So I would be
No,
careful as a potential upset, but I'm not ready to pick it like that yet.
well, I'm saying Clemson's going to win, and
Yeah.
I don't want. Listen, I do not want. I'm gonna say this. I want Syracuse to go undefeated
Yeah.
for the sake of their head coach.
Yeah.
Do you know why I'm saying that? Do you have any idea?
Was he at Georgia?
Well,
Hold
he
on.
he was at
Let me
Georgia, yes.
You're talking about Fran Brown,
Fran
who's
Brown
entering. Yeah.
has said that if he loses a game, he
No.
does not take a shower until the next win.
Dang.
He said that he feels after a loss, he feels like he does not deserve soap.
Dang.
So, for the sake of his wife and for the sake of his team and himself, I hope they win all their games so he can at least get some soap.
For sure.
But I do think I
So
I think they're going to lose here though.
to Clemson. I
Yeah.
think so too. I think so too. I think they come back home though. That I don't know what to make of Duke yet for 2025. I really don't. They're not the basketball team. They're the football team, the foosball. But Syracuse could win that game.
Yeah, Syracuse can win. Yeah, that's a winnable game.
That's
At
winnable.
SMU, I'd go ahead
Oh,
and say that they're going to lose to SMU, even though like that's a toss-up game. I'll go ahead and say they lose there.
all right. I was going to say the same thing. It is a toss up for right now, but it's still winnable. But SMU. So what do we have so far? SMU and Clemson as their losses.
Yeah, and then I think they win versus Pitt, lose to
Okay,
Georgia Tech.
that's three.
They'll. I don't know what to make of
Ooh.
North Carolina quite yet because Nico is also.
Bill Belichick. Hey, Bill Belichick. Think about it. Now, I was scratching my head. I was jaw on the floor, man. Like when they made that hire, I was quite honestly surprised. Ooh,
I could see that
hey,
as a win or a loss.
yeah. I'm gonna say win for right now, and then they'll go to Miami. I'm gonna say that's a loss.
Yeah, that's a loss. Then
Notre
the
Dame on the road, off
loss.
a bye week though. What do we have them at? 7-5, maybe? Do you think they beat Boston College
No,
last game?
they'll beat Boston College. So
I
Miami,
could.
Notre Dame,
Let's scroll up. Georgia
Georgia
Tech.
Tech,
That's three.
SMU,
SMU's four.
Clemson. That's 5.
Clemson
I think the worst.
7-5.
I think
Yeah,
worst. I think the worst case scenario for Syracuse is 6-6 because I could see them losing one more game.
right.
I think.
Potentially, depending on how that Tennessee game goes, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
I think the ceiling is 9-3 here.
what are the definite losses? Clemson,
Clemson for sure is a
um,
definite loss.
Miami,
Georgia
Notre
Tech, and
Dame,
Miami.
Georgia Tech, and Miami. Notre Dame's not a definite. You don't think?
I guess so. I think that's. I think 4
No,
loss.
it'd have to be. It'd have to be 8-4.
I would say 8-4 is probably what they're going to end up being because I do think
Yeah,
I think they can win one of these games like a Notre Dame, like a Miami. Because Miami, I mean, they lose Cam Ward. Is it
yeah.
100%? And Miami has lost games that they shouldn't have in years past.
Don't forget
So,
too who they got at quarterback now is Carson Beck,
yeah, and I think he's one of the best
which
quarterbacks.
isn't a bad. It's hey, he's got potential there.
I think he's
The
one of
only
the best
thing he
quarterbacks.
did was, huh?
I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in 2025.
I think so too. The only thing I would have against, well, not like against, but like with Carson Beck would be, he did have some down moments at Georgia last year with the interceptions, but other than that, I think he's pretty solid.
And some of them interceptions wasn't his fault, but yeah,
Yeah,
go on. You know,
yes, sir.
Georgia did lead the whole entire country in drop passes. So,
Yeah, that's true.
and we had, I mean, a lot of tip balls, and it was just crazy. But yeah, some of them were his fault, and you could probably say over 50% of those interceptions was Carson Beck's fault, but a few of them was not his fault though, and I can show you on the tape. But I think 8-4. I would say 8-4.
8-4.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. I'm gonna agree with you, and I think we're pretty much set on the losses too. I mean, if Syracuse wants to be worth their while next year, like they will find a way to win one of those games and go 9-3. I think it's very possible, but I wouldn't place any bets on that. But I could roll with 8-4 for the Orange.
But anyways, yeah, man. So that completes this episode of
Yes.
Touchdowns Live.